Eja Suzuza Arise for Ghana, oppression of the land, forward and seek your future. Development our God, from vision to victory, and this shall lead. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to victory, and this shall lead. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. Eja bana Victory is our land. Victory is our land. JJ is a winner. Arise for Ghana, of the drop of the land, forward and secure future. Development our goal, from vision to victory, and this shall lead. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to victory, and this shall lead. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to victory, and this shall lead. Stable Democrat. Eja Suzuza Arise for Ghana, oppression of the land, forward and seek your future. Development our God, from vision to victory, and this shall lead. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to victory, and this shall lead. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. Eja bana Suzusa. Arise for Ghana, a patron of the land, for weather and seek your future, development our goal, from vision to big, the end is surely, Democrat, Ghana, our strength unity, from vision to big, the end is surely.
Because we predicted the fortunes of the Ghanaian economy, and so we changed our strategy quite some time.
When did you do that?
Oh, we did that. Let me see. We did it around about 2012.
Okay.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, around about 2012, we're changing. We changed completely. We changed to a point where we are the only company in our sector that's able to initiate and disburse loans digitally. Mm-hmm. I mean, we started on that path a long ago. We adopted elements of the FMCGG strategy. So we didn't build branches because we knew that they were expensive. We had team leaders who controlled sales executives. We built sales points for them to have their meetings in. We recognized very quickly that we had to have a low-cost model because essentially what we're selling is a commodity. Money is a commodity. Everyone knows the price. So we're very calculating as to what our strategy should be. And over a period of 5 years until COVID, I think our exponential growth was around 42% per annum. The company grew. So we've done well. Of course, we're under pressure like everybody else, but the company has done very well. It makes me proud. It makes me very proud.
We've seen even multinationals flee the shores of Ghana due to varied reasons. Some talk about profitability here and there, but one will also say Dalex is a local institution or a company that has survived. What is even attributing to the reasons why you have these multinationals fly?
Okay. Let me give you a very simple example. So, to start with, we don't have the opportunity to leave. I mean, in any case, as a Ghanaian, I wouldn't like to do business anywhere.
Okay.
The same things that afflict multinationals that lead them to leave. The same things afflict us.
Exactly.
We have high costs. When we do deduct payments, payroll deductions, it takes about 4 months for the money to come to us. It costs us a lot of money. but our value is falling because we're a CD company. So if, for example, we're valued 30 million 4 years ago, now it's gone down.
And that would be attributed to the depreciation of the CD?
Of course, the depreciation of CD and costs, of course. So we are squeezed like everybody else, but we're a local company. And I'll speak purely as a Ghanaian. As a Ghanaian, I'm proud that we're still here. I know I have to fight for the system to change so all of us benefit, but we have nowhere to go to. Maybe if we did, probably we'll make a choice, but if I was not Ghanaian, yes, I'll be thinking of probably leaving, but as a Ghanaian company, no, I won't do that. I mean, you started a business with people who had just come out of school. You've grown with these people. They've had families. You know, they've been to school. They have families. You know, they have parents they're looking after. And suddenly you say, "Well, I'm stopping business." No, it doesn't work like that for me.
But if the situation demands.
In any case, you see, the only institutions that develop this country are Ghanaian institutions.
Yeah.
No foreign company will develop this country. No foreign company has developed any country anywhere in the world. And when foreigners have come and developed, they've stayed. Look all over the world. Look in America. Look in South Africa. Look, wherever foreigners have come, they've stayed. Because why would a foreigner come and develop your country? It doesn't make sense to me. So for us, it's important that we're here. I'm proud that we're here. I'm proud to be Ghanaian. I know that we're going through challenging times, but we're going to fight very, very hard to make sure that we come out of it, and then we prosper.
Very well. How challenging is the situation? I'm going to find out from you in a jiffy as well, but let me still stay with you a while. You mentioned that in 2012, you saw what probably the Ghanaian economy will look like in some years to come, and here we find ourselves. What would be your description of the Ghanaian economy currently?
And what's the English word? It's a mess.
Is it?
It's an absolute mess.
Why would you say that?
It's a mess. And when I do my presentation, I'll tell you, it's a total mess. We're in a hole. And I don't really know. I have some ideas as to how we should come out of it. And I'm hoping that all Ghanaians do appreciate the hole which we're in, because we're in a hole. You know, and it's going to take time to come out of this hole. Some people have predicted 20 years. I think maybe 25, 30. We're in a deep.
Isn't that bad?
What's another word for bad, which is worse?
Worse, yeah.
I don't think worse describes it. We're a deep hole. You know, we're a very, very, very deep hole. And of course, as we go through, people understand why we say there's a deep hole. We're just going to see how we're going to come out of it. You know?
Well, the handlers or the controllers of the economy, that's government, I'll put it that way, over and over again have labeled exogenous factors as reasons why the economy is in this shape. Do you agree?
That's just... I don't want to use the word that is coming to my mind. Forget about it. I mean, for the COVID and Ukraine,
of course, yes.
Forget about it. And when I start talking through it, you understand, forget about it. COVID and Ukraine are red herrings. And, you know, if you go back into Ghana's history, there was some economist. He's called Sir Arthur Lewis. Sir Arthur Lewis was brought in to help the government of Ghana with its economy. And he came and he went and came back. And at some point he fell out with the president. Was it president or prime minister?
Prime Minister.
Nkrumah, yes. And one of the things the reporters have said was that he said, a lot of your things in your budget deliver no benefit to the people. They have no benefit to people. And the prime minister was reported to have said, well, maybe economically it doesn't make sense. Economically it makes sense to you, but for me, politically it makes sense. A lot of the things that we've been promised over the last 8 years was for the benefit of the politicians, but have delivered no benefit to the people of Ghana. And that's why we are where we are.
I want us to go to the screen quickly, and I want you to paint a vivid picture of what the situation is. Why do we find ourselves in this situation?
I'll tell you what I'll do. What I'll do is that I'll tell you how we got here. I'll also look at, you know, what the implications have been and what they are. and then I'll propose some solutions to way forward. Just some thoughts on the way forward. Yes, that's what I'll do. So by the end of the presentation, your viewers have a clear understanding of what the economic situation is. And when I say we're in a deep hole, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Very well. I don't want us to waste too much time over this. I want us to go straight to the screen where Mr. Thompson will paint a vivid picture, as he mentioned to us. All right, so sir, let's go to the screen. Paint a vivid picture to us. What is the situation like?
Okay, we're an economy in crisis, and I say the economy has crashed. To put it mildly, it's crashed. Ghana is an economic meltdown. We're talking about high unemployment, high taxes, high inflation, businesses leaving, decrease in purchasing power. Yesterday, I met a young man at one of the hotels, and he said, "Mr. Thompson, you said it. Now my salary is not enough to cover 2 weeks expenditure." That's what he told me. So how did we get here? How did we get here? In 2017, we elected a new government into power. And the government came into power on the basis of a lot of populist, very populist agenda. 1D, 1F, 1 million, 1 village, 1 dam,
1 million per
1 million
constituency.
per constituency. Name it, they had it.
Free SHS.
Free SHS. And riding on the goodwill and egos inflated by hype, we went on a borrowing spree. In 2017, Ghana borrowed $2.5 billion. As soon as we came by March, we had borrowed $2.5 billion. Then in 2017, 18, we did $2 billion. 2019, $3 billion. 2020, $3 billion. 2021, $3 billion. It's difficult to translate $3 billion into cedis. So I don't know, because the figure becomes
huge.
I don't know. How was $3 billion in cedis? Can you, I don't know, times?
Unless you do the calculation.
It's like,
probably we do a breakdown.
Like 35 billion cedis in today's currency. Assume, yeah. Okay. It was so good that in 2019 we had a kinky party to celebrate,
a breakthrough.
A breakthrough, yes. We celebrated. They said a hat trick of successes. So it celebrated a successful Eurobond issue. It celebrated
an exit from the IMF.
Exit from the IMF. He also said that the CD had been stabilized. You see, but what these loans allowed us to do was that, we're getting dollars. So there was no pressure on dollars, because every time we wanted dollars, we took some of the loan. Interest rates were low. Interest rates were low because the government was not borrowing on the local market. One of the reasons why interest rates are high is that the government competes with the private sector to borrow, and the government was not borrowing from the local market. And then inflation was low. Because interest rates were low, inflation low. And on the basis of that, the government went on to win an election. Okay.
In 2020?
2020, yes. Because it was successful. It was a party. Currency stable. Yeah. The CD had been arrested, because I remember very clearly that somebody in very high up in the government said that if the fundamentals are weak, the CD will expose you. The CD had been arrested. Interest rates were low, inflation was low. It was a party.
And this was between 2017 and 2019 or 2020?
2019, yeah. Yes. Of course, they also went for another $3 billion in 2020, and another 2021 did another $3 billion. But some of us were concerned. And what I do a lot of public presentations. And this was done at Alisa Hotel. I started speaking publicly on the economy in 2014. Yeah. And I was concerned. I was really concerned about the rate at which this is 2018. So when people talk about COVID in Ukraine, I said, just dismiss it. Really, let's not even talk about it. And I said, and I spoke to Ken. You know who I was speaking to?
The former finance minister?
Yes. So I invited him to the presentation. He wasn't there. But actually, I had a cutout of Ken. And this Alisa Hotel, about 300 people of the good and the great. And, Mr. Furiata is somebody I admire very much because he's a pioneer. Capital is a
capital banker?
No. He's a pioneer in the capital markets, in raising money. Data Bank is synonymous with investment because, one of his colleagues told me that when they started Data Bank, they literally did a roadshow throughout the country where they were speaking to people about investing, saving money with a mutual fund. He managed to establish 2 successful companies at that time, Data Bank Enterprise Insurance, and it was a truly international company because they had subsidiaries in the Gambia.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with Ken, and I spoke about the economy. I spoke about my concerns about the borrowing. It was a cutout. I had a cutout of Ken Ofuriatta. The only people who knew, that there was going to be a cutout was me and my mentor. And I spoke to him. I said, you're my senior. You've done well. But I'm concerned about your borrowing. And I gave him some advice. This is 2018. I said, we have to face reality now. We have to face reality now. And as a minister, as a minister designate in 2017, you promised to tell us the truth. You promised to tell us the truth. So tell us the truth about the Ghanaian economy. But we have to face reality now, and we are heading for a disaster. This is a public event, and this was reported widely in the press. We're heading for 2018. I said, stop borrowing. I said, stop borrowing, because this borrowing will kill us. 2018. I also said, widen the tax net so that we can get more revenue to pay for the debts that we're accumulating. But as for this debt, we've got to stop. And I also said, agriculture is the silver bullet. This is 2018.
Yeah.
Conversation with Ken. Actually, I was going to do another one in 2020, and another public presentation, which was actually going to be broadcast live across quite a few radio stations. And COVID, just before that was locked down. Anyway, so where are we now? The reality is we are broke and overborrowed. Ghana is completely broke.
So, as at the time you spoke to Ken, he didn't pay attention to all that you said?
Young man, if he was listening, we wouldn't be where we are now. And I told that I spoke in 2018. In 2019, we borrowed more. 2020, we borrowed more. 2021, we borrowed some more. We're borrowing. And I said, we're heading for disaster. So where are we now? Ghana, we are, the studio audience, they must also understand, because if the audience don't understand, I have failed. But we are broke and we're borrowed. And, they tell us about debt to GDP ratio.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. What I know is that it's not how much you owe, how much your debt you're in, it's how much of your income you are using to pay that debt.
Yeah.
That's a critical number. So assuming you earn 2,000 cedis, if you use 1,000 cedis to pay your debt, it's completely different from me using 500 cedis to pay my debt. So once you have the 2,000 cedis, there's nothing for petrol, there's nothing for rent, there's nothing for school fees, you're out. So look at Ghana. And this doesn't include payments of principal. This is just interest. 2020, 49.5%. 2021, 50. 2022, 44. And don't be fooled by 2023, because since December 2022, we've not been paying debt on our commercial debt. We've not been paying debt, so don't be fooled. In February 2022, one of the rating agencies came out to say that, Ghana, the way your debt is going, we don't think you can pay it. You know what the Ministry of Finance did? They wrote a letter and insulted them. They insulted them and even insulted the young lady who led the team. They said he didn't meet the right people, he did some desk research, and then so they totally dismissed him. And the report. So around February, the debt rating agency will say, look, Ghana, this is a problem. I talked about it in 2018.
Yeah.
This time, formally, the debt rating agencies were saying that you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And then the president went on an international platform and said that the rating agencies are reckless and suggested that Africans should form their own rating agencies because we're not being fairly treated. It's like you're a member of WASI. You are doing the exams, and WASI says, we think you should look at how you are teaching your students. And you know what he said to them? He said, tell WASI, don't worry about it. We're no longer interested. And go and form your own examining board and set your own questions. So this was going on, and by 20, I remember there was then some announcement about whether there'll be haircut or no haircut. What does a haircut mean? And then December 2022, we said that we put our hands up and said, the debt we can't pay. So the issue is that we are broke and overborrowed, and we cannot pay our debts. So you earn 2,000 cedis. You are using same number, 66,006 to pay your debt. You are broke, overborrowed. That's it. That's where we are. So what's the situation which we're in? Inflation, prices are high. And you see, the first thing that happens when it's obvious that you can't pay your debts, that the foreigners start to take their money out. So the first people that took their money out, took it out in 2022. Those people, they invested in government paper. They bought treasury bills. They didn't invest in any underlying assets. So you remember the money, the cedi just went. Yes, because they took their money out. It's only now those that invested their money in bricks and mortar and the underlying assets now are taking their money out. So that's happened in December 2022. High inflation, high interest rates, high taxes, a currency that is floating like a lead balloon. You know what a lead balloon is? It just keeps dropping. And high unemployment. This is the current economy.
And these are the drivers of the economy.
Well, you tell me. I mean, we have, if you look at these inflation numbers, I mean, if you use the rule of 72, don't worry about the technicals of rule of 72, but at an average rate of 35%, it means that your prices double every 2 years. This is just inflation, not currency depreciation. If you take food inflation in Ghana, some point around 50%, 54%. Yeah. That means your prices double in less than a year. That's what it means. Interest rates. I mean, we have interest rates now. On average now, I think it's around 26%, 27%. But a government, the government now doesn't have access to international capital market. So it's borrowing from the local market. But the government is borrowing at a rate of 27, 28%. But how does a government who cannot pay debt at an average of 20% now start to borrow at 20%, 27%? Even more serious is that the privates, if you go to look for money to run your business, if you are lucky to get it, and I'm using luck with a very big capital L, the price of that money is nearly over 50%. What business are you doing to be able to generate for every one CD, generate a return and pay 50 pesos of that as interest? It's not possible. So of course businesses will suffer. Those that have taken loans can't pay back. Those that are in business they can't grow, they can't borrow, and the government keeps borrowing more and more. I mean, the least said about taxes, the better. I mean, you know, there's a phrase that was made popular by Winston Churchill. He said, taxing a nation's prosperity is like a man standing in a bucket and lifting themselves by the handle. For the government to be able to cover its expenses, taxes have gone through the roof. When I was talking about 2018, I was saying increase taxes, and I said widen the tax net. Now, you know, the only thing they can do is tax those of us who are
already being taxed.
They're paying taxing payers more. So VAT increased to 15%. E-levy nearly collapsed the mobile money business. So now I think they brought to 1%. But
yeah.
I have to admit that I resent paying it. I really resent paying it. 1%. Tax on lottery winnings. And then what they have done is that they've actually increased the tax on PAYE. You know what they've done? So the tax-free element of your salary used to be 0 to 3,000 and something. They've now increased, it used to be 0 to 5,000 and something. They decreased that now to 0 to 3,000 and something. So actually they are actually taxing income, PAYE, they're taxing as well. Increased tax on drinks, growth and stability levy, and I can assure you that more taxes are coming. More taxes are coming. Depreciation.
Don't we need the taxes to develop the country?
At the moment, the taxes are being used for consumption.
Is that what's happening?
That's what's happening.
Schools are being built, roads are being constructed.
It's all okay. So let's roll back. So even those loans for constructing those schools and loans, Agenda 111, those loans no longer exist. In any case, one of the reasons why we are where we are is that there are no cash flows from the projects that are supposed to be financed to pay for the loans. If planting of food for jobs was delivering, if Agenda 111 was delivering, if the roads, they say they built more roads than any other, by now would generate cash flow to pay for the debt. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with loans.
The loans.
There's nothing. It's your ability to pay. You know, Japan has a loan to GDP ratio of 263%. Japan. The average interest rate on Japanese loans is about 2%. And the Japanese focus on investments and supporting businesses to grow and exports. That's it. So it's never been an issue of borrowing. It's what you use the money for. And if you borrow, you know, and you go and buy a car is a depreciating asset. You're gone. Even if you borrow and go and you take a mortgage, buy a big house, you lose your job, you got to downsize. So at the moment, we have to downsize. And even after downsizing, we need to find some more ways to raise money. And the only way we're doing it is to increase taxes because there's no cash flow.
So you say we are borrowing to consume? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. We borrow, we pay salaries. We borrow to pay loans. We do some capital projects. It doesn't work like that. You know, if you take countries like Singapore, and it's worth, looking at what other people have done. In Singapore, they only borrow, listen very carefully, they only borrow to finance infrastructure. That is when they have carefully sat down and worked out, what sort of return they're going to get. And then that's when they borrow. They don't borrow to pay salaries. They don't borrow to buy four-wheel drives for ministers. They don't borrow for people to go on foreign trips. They don't do that. But you are borrowing to pay salaries. The only thing that's going to happen is that you will crash. You will crash. If you took a loan to go and operate some business and use that loan to travel overseas or buy a big car, you will crash. I mean, it's obvious. Cedi depreciation. Since January, is depreciated by 123%. So you see, people talk about the fact that there's no money in the system.
You're looking at 2022 January to what we have currently, April 2024.
123%. So in 2 years, our purchasing power is more than halved.
Yeah.
And people talk about the fact that there's no money in the system. It's not that there's no money in the system necessarily. You are being paid the same.
Yeah.
But what you can buy is less than half what you could buy 2 years ago. That's what the issue is. Unemployment is high. And the statistics are the sad. Male unemployment 10%. The females is high, 17%. I mean, that's high. And we can see them. In the service sector, you can see the ladies, the sort of work they are doing. But the worst part of all is 68.5% of our Ghanaians are in vulnerable employment.
Vulnerable employment means what?
No contract, low wages, the money doesn't come, poor working conditions, not unionized. You can be sacked anytime. 68% of Ghanaians are in vulnerable employment.
That's a huge one.
Well, this statistic, I just so that you make sure, is from the Ghana Statistical Service quarterly report on annual household income and expenditure survey. But without going to the details, but you can see around you what's happening in society. You can see how vulnerable people are. You can see it. 68.5% of Ghanaians are in vulnerable employment. So we are broke. We have no money. Interest rates are high. Unemployment is high. Businesses are collapsing. The cedi is depreciating. Remember that we haven't started paying we haven't started paying back the interest on our commercial loans. We will stop paying since December 2022, 2024. Yeah. Our children have no jobs. Our businesses are shrinking. Our spending power is gone. Prices have doubled. So what do we do? That's the situation. We were borrowed. Mm-hmm. So your father borrowed some money, went to buy a house, sent you to international schools, gave everybody a TV, and a TV in their room. Bought you a small Uber to take you back to school. Got 2 house helps. Now your father's lost their job. So now I go to downsize. So Ghana, we need to downsize. So what's the way forward? What really is the way forward? At the moment, nobody will give us money. We've been shut out of the international capital market, and we need money to develop.
We've been able to land the deal with the IMF.
Oh, but the IMF...
Did that come too late? Did we get there at the right time?
That's neither here nor there. But what you've got to remember that the IMF is so... back to my example where you are living in this big house and you have to downsize.
Yeah.
And you go to your brother and says, I have to downsize, but it will take me about, 3 months to find, new accommodation. It will take me another 3 months to get my children a new school. I've got to now show them the total route. So your brother says, okay, look, whilst you're in this period, I'll give you some, I'll chalk you some, I'll give you some 1,000 cedis so you can manage that's all the IMF is doing. That's all the IMF is doing. That's all the IMF is doing. I mean,
it's just momentarily.
It's just something small to help you reorganize yourself. That's all. So you're in this big house. Your brother is giving you a little money to balance yourself. I mean, recently I've been reading the press. They've been saying that we're expecting 300 million or so from the IMF, and we're also expecting about 150 million from somewhere else. Do you know how much Ghana spends on the energy sector every month? $400 million. So that's your $450 million gone.
Just like that.
It's gone. So that's a red herring. So what do? You're broke. So now we're in our house. Our brother has given us 1,000 cedis. We have 3 months to start to look for a new house. I've got to find, change the children's school. Okay, so one of the things, as a country, we've got to restore investor confidence. How do you get people to believe that if you borrow, you pay back? And what we forget is that the monies that people lend to us, they are taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
They're taxpayers' money. I hear ridiculous comments about how the Chinese government is stretching that. Come on, it's taxpayers' money. Why would I give you money if you don't pay back? These are the taxpayers are old. They've worked all their lives. They put their money together bit by bit by bit by bit. Then I lend it to you, say I won't pay. Now you can't do that. What do you mean by you won't pay? So we've got to start by restoring confidence. We've got to go on a path where we've got to say the things that we do and how we're going to do to give people the confidence to give us money. It's not going to happen overnight, but we've got to start. Recently when the city has been taking a hammering, I've heard in the press that they said they're going to rationalize expenditure. And so I'm thinking, but hang on a minute. These are things that you should have been doing a long time ago. In any case, don't tell me what you are dreaming of doing. Tell me what you have done and are doing. So we've got to get to the path to restore investor confidence. We must have, because we need that money to develop. Last week, I was in Ivory Coast, and I was speaking to a gentleman who said he had done some Euro bonds for, I think, Benin. And he's talk. He said, but you're not supposed to pay back, but you're supposed to refinance. I'm saying, really? With that kind of mindset, you are dead. What kind of a human being are you? We've got to cut expenditure.
Just like that.
It's gone. So that's a red herring. So what do? You're broke. So now we're in our house. Our brother has given us 1,000 cedis. We have 3 months to start to look for a new house. I've got to find, change the children's school. What do you do? Okay, so one of the things, as a country, we've got to restore investor confidence. How do you get people to believe that if you borrow, you pay back? And what we forget is that the monies that people lend to us, they are taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
They're taxpayers' money. I hear ridiculous comments about how the Chinese government is stretching that. Come on, it's taxpayers' money. Why would I give you money if you don't pay back? These are the taxpayers are old. They've worked all their lives. They've put their money together bit by bit by bit by bit. Then I lend it to you, say I won't pay. Now you can't do that. What do you mean by you won't pay? So we've got to start by restoring confidence. We've got to go on a path where we've got to say the things that we do and how we're going to do to give people the confidence to give us money. It's not going to happen overnight, but we've got to start. Recently when the city has been taking a hammering, I've heard in the press that they said they're going to rationalize expenditure. And so I'm thinking, but hang on a minute. These are things that you should have been doing a long time ago. In any case, don't tell me what you are dreaming of doing. Tell me what you have done and are doing. So we've got to get to the path to restore investor confidence. We must have, because we need that money to develop. Last week, I was in Ivory Coast, and I was speaking to a gentleman who said he had done some Euro bonds for, I think, Benin. And he's talk. He said, but you're not supposed to pay back, but you're supposed to refinance. I'm saying, really? With that kind of mindset, you are dead. What kind of a human being are you? We've got to cut expenditure. I've talked about this so many times. NAPCO, Ghana Cares, these are all jobs for the boys. We've got to cut. We've got to get the point where we only spend what we have. If you haven't got it, you can't spend it.
You made an example with the NAPCO. You also made an example during your illustration how unemployment has skyrocketed as well, hovering around 14.6% thereabouts, and even give the breakdown. So if government has brought in an intervention like a NAPCO and what have you, is that not something we should celebrate?
It's beautiful. It delivers no jobs. It delivers money for some party functionaries to be able to sort themselves out and sort the people around them. What are the jobs? They're not permanent jobs. What are we talking about? Ghana Cares, Obatampa, NAPCO. And I'm thinking, I've gone on record to say that for me, they are a total waste of time. you better take that money and support the private sector, because the private sector is which will create jobs. Where in the world does government create jobs? Where in the world, and that's the situation, where in the world where the public sector now in Ghana is more attractive than the private sector? People are clamoring to work for certain public sector organizations. It tells you something's fundamentally wrong. Expenditure, you got to we got to cut expenditure. We got to live according to your means. Government is too big. You know how many ministers there are in Cote d'Ivoire? April 2022. In April 2022, Cote d'Ivoire, is it April 2022? Yes. They reduced ministers from 41 to 30. In Ghana, we have over 100. And our population is only 3 million more than them. And it's not only the fact that you have a minister, the minister, his directors, his special assistants, his cars, his travel, it just goes on and on and on and on. And we have over 100. I mean, somebody even told me last time about, and they said Keita Port Development Authority. It hasn't laid a block. I think they have a whole. That thing's been in existence.
There's a director.
Yes. Government is too big.
So you are looking at government cutting down on their size. If we should appoint ministers, what numbers?
Ministers. Well, let's use Cote d'Ivoire as a guide to start with. So let's do 35. But we definitely don't need 100. What do we need 100 ministers? What are they doing? 100. Well, we may need 200 ministers. I don't want to get in an argument. The bottom line is that we can't afford it. It's as simple as that. You can't afford it, you can't afford it. You know, we've got to increase revenue. How we're going to do it? Well, we've got to actually do it. We've got to show how we're doing it. We've got to show the people why we're doing it. We've got to show the people where their money is going, and then that will encourage them to pay more. We've got to find there are ways to do it. That's what we've got to do. We've got to block those tax loopholes, or those loopholes have been going on and on and on about. The SOEs, unprofitable SOEs, deal with them. You know, in 2016, they lost over 1.7 billion, and that's what they were able to show. I mean, you've got to do all these things. We've got to focus on fiscal discipline. You can't spend what you haven't got. I mean, I don't know which language to say it in. But, I mean, it's such a basic principle. You can't spend what you haven't got. You can't. And your father can't go, you know, he doesn't pay, he can't pay the school fees, but every weekend he buys beer with chicken and says we're having a party. It doesn't happen. You know, infrastructure. I mean, last week, when it rained, sometime this week, when it rained, I was on the Castro Road, and the mudslide on the road. And I'm still in my car, I'm thinking,
and that caused traffic.
Well, forget about the traffic. I mean, that's the easy part. I suspect that even the loan we took for that road, we have not finished paying.
Yet the project is not done.
Exactly. You know, we've got to think of how to reduce inflation, how to reduce interest rates. We've got to think of how to make the private sector take over the reins of the economy. We've got to think about public-private partnerships when it comes to infrastructure. That's what works, you know. But overall, it's income and expenditure. You can't spend what you haven't got. We are broke, we are over-borrowed, and we're in a disaster. That's the situation. Because we borrowed. The cash flows to pay for those monies we can't find. So how do we get out of the hole? And, you know, if you take the UK, they have an office for budget responsibility. The budget for office responsibility was set up by the government, and it provides independent analysis of public finances. So if the government says I'm going to borrow this, that it will give an independent the effect. That's the sort of thing. Then we are talking serious. But as usual, you know, I've always said, you know, agriculture is the key. We must at least feed ourselves, and that's a basic thing. I mean, every time I go to a shop, I'm in tears. Because the only thing that is made in Ghana in that shop is probably the groundnuts. And with the cashew, even the cashew is important. But think about it. Anytime you buy an imported product, you are taking the job somewhere else. The job in terms of the farmer, the fertilizer, the transporters, the lawyers, the actors, the broadcasters, the cameraman. You've taken the job away. Go to the shop. Then you know what the issue is. Do you also know that over 70% of the containers that come to Ghana, they go back empty? Mm-hmm. We're exporting air. Mm-hmm. But agriculture is the key. I mean, our leaders are very good at painting big visions.
Yeah, is that not why we have the 1D, 1F? The planting for food and jobs?
Yes, 1D, 1F was supposed to support the planting for food and jobs. Then every constituency was supposed to get 1 million to do more jobs. What was it? And then we're supposed to get
and that was supposed to help the people in the northern belt as well. So you keep laughing over these issues.
We've got to learn to actually get away from all these political talk. All these slogans that benefit all the politicians, to actually drawing linkages between what we want to do and achieve. For example, if you take the poultry sector, we talk about how much day-old chicks have come in, blah, 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 blah. But nobody bothered to find out, nobody bothered to work the linkage to make sure that the maize price was also available at the right price. Because now, based on this, the broiler market is dead. Because the maize price is too high. Who bothered to do that check? These are all standard. I despair. These are all standard. We are overbroke. And let's make agri sexy. For me, for Ghana to go forward, it's agriculture and tourism as a service. That's it.
Have we paid attention to these areas?
Oh, we haven't done anything. We haven't done anything. All we've done is talk. If we really, I was looking at some numbers. The amount of maize, we import tomatoes, we import onions, we import pepper, what kind of a country is this? So Ghanaians, we're in a very dark place and we've got to work very hard. It reminds me, and when I hear the commentators, and a lot of people talk about the economy, it reminds me of the boy who killed both parents, and then when he was being sentenced, he asked for clemency because he was an orphan. Now who calls him? Who was in charge of the debt? Who was borrowing? Who was in charge of the currency? You killed both parents, and then when you are being sentenced, you say, my Lord, I beg, because I'm an orphan. It doesn't work like that. But what I'll say is that, we can't give up. We can't give up. Our children will never forgive us. One day we'll all be dead and gone. And you hope that, and nobody's going to come back, but you hope that, every time, when we pray that our children, we get our people that have gone before us to get perfect peace. If we don't solve this, our children will curse us.
Have you failed us?
Of course we failed. Our children will curse us forever. Our children, if we don't solve this problem, our children will curse us.
So what's this picture?
And that's Asamoah, when he missed when he missed the penalty. Mm-hmm. But he can't give up.
He still continues to play.
He can't give up. But we can't give up. Our children will curse us. Our children, I've been speaking about this since 2014. Yeah. 2018, I said, you are heading for disaster. We're in disaster. I said, we should face the reality. We didn't face the reality. And now when we talk, they say COVID in Ukraine. And now when you talk, they say, well, we killed both parents, but we're an orphan. Who caused it? Who caused it? Who caused it? So thank you very much.
Well, we'll take another round of break. When we come back, you wind up with all that you have, and I'm going to ask a particular question. You said the problems in which we find ourselves is going to linger on for more than 20 years. Is there hope? You wind up with that. Stay with us.
Do you want a sugar-free, freshly squeezed fruit juice? Choose Greenline fruit juice and smoothies filled with vitamin C, calcium, iron, fiber, and zinc. Every drop of Greenline juice and smoothies is naturally made to give you energy, good health, and refreshment. Enjoy your favorite Greenline orange, pineapple passion, watermelon, pineapple and turmeric, pineapple beetroot, pineapple and ginger, and healthy green. Greenline fruit juice and smoothies, powered by nature.
Your flight is ready to leave.
Sit back and relax and enjoy the flight.
Still staying with us here on the interview. My guest has illustrated the reality on the ground. I mean, he got everyone in the studio talking about this. If you still buy kinky at 5 cedis, fish at 20 cedis, if your pocket the film, as they will say. So what is your reality? Well, we should wind up our conversation quickly, Mr. Thompson. Now, I asked, after 20 years, will it get better?
It will get better if we do the right things. Because you see, we're going to be like this for some time. So we have to find some way to raise money, some way to cut expenditure. And then maybe in 15 years' time, somebody will say, no, these people are Charlie, it's okay, let me give them some small money. But if we don't reorganize ourselves, if we don't live within our means, we end up back where we started from. When did we do HIPIC? HIPIC was 20 something, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, our debts were written off. We're back where we started from, and even in a much worse situation. So, we've got to, if we don't deal with the reality, if we don't live within our means, we'll end up back where we are now. And, I meet a lot of young people. I mentor a lot of young people. I've worked with a lot of young people. I see their passion. I feel their frustration. Yeah. My heart bleeds. I mean, I remember in the 80s, when I finished, I started secondary school in the 70s. By the mid-70s, it was obvious that when we finished school, we were going to leave. Then people from the Ashanti region were leaving, everybody was going. I finished university on the 23rd of June. By 25th of June, I was on the plane. I said, I sat on that Ghana Airways plane. I said, this country, I'm never coming back.
And you left?
I left. All of us were leaving. And for 99.99% of the people that left, you didn't have more than $100 in their pockets. And people,
but they managed to leave.
Oh, we went, we planned, went to school. I mean, I have friends, people that I know that are now multi-millionaires, and they left this country with less than $100. What chance do our young people have?
And, do you see the same thing happening now? Look at the
do I see the same thing?
Yes.
Of course, the same thing. It's not that do I see it. It's here and worse. You see, at least when we were growing up, you said, when I finish, I'm out. Mm-hmm. We all left, but they can't go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, people say, if you have, if I have $10,000, whatever it is, why not stay in Ghana? Why don't you stay in Ghana and start a business? Look, it would be nice if they had a choice, but they don't. The people of my generation, including people that have been all the governments, both the previous one, this one, they all left. Everybody left. And my heart bleeds for the young people. My heart bleeds. I've got young people. I've got young nephews and nieces. I've got them, they can't leave home. But as parents, you can't support your children forever. So what happens? What happens? You're working, you are paid, I know, $1,500, $4,000. What do you do with that? You spend $800 on fuel or on transport. What do you do with the 700 cedis? What kind of life do you have? You can't plan. You have to accept the poverty which you're in. And as for the vices that he fuels, well, that's a different matter. But it's so sad. It's so sad. It shouldn't be like this. But our children will curse us. They really will curse us. They really will curse us. I mean, solution, well, you got to keep hope alive. And we've got to hope that, by some stroke of fortune, we'll have some change of mind and we'll start to do the things that we need to do to get out of this thing. In 2014, when I started speaking, I started talking about, I said, up to 2018, I said, in 2018, I said, look, where we've got to, I can only pray and hope. And then, you know what my friend said to me? Oh, Ken, Charlie, is prayer a strategy? Now, none of them have come back with a strategy. Prayer, the point to which we're in, the only strategy I have is prayer. That's the only strategy I have. And it should not be like that. So, young people, guys, get involved. Get involved, make your voices heard. I am in 60s, I'm going to die soon. But you are in your 20s. You got another 40 years to live. Is that this kind of poverty you're going to live in? No. It's not right.
Mr. Thompson, thank you.
Thank you too.
We'll end the conversation here. I think we should have you again.
Yes.
Maybe after the mid-year thereabout. When the minister comes with the mid-year budget review.
I like to. And any issue, any economic issues, let me talk about it. Because everybody needs to understand.
Yeah.
The moment somebody says something that you don't understand, they don't know what they're talking about. Let's just simply break it down simple. Thank you very much.
Very well. Thank you so much. My guest has been Mr. Ken Thompson, Director of Dalex Finance. He's been able to illustrate to us all that you need to know as far as the current economic situation of the country is. Is there hope? Ask that same question when you find your friend. Thank you for watching. If you missed it, you can watch a repeat on Monday at 9:30 p.m. Thanks to the crew for helping put this one together. My name is Randy.
Mama baby, oh, NDC baby, NDC baby, oh, NDC baby, Tinama, Obi Sawadi. Mama, and it's Sata, mama.
We will restore stability and inclusive growth in the economy, and we shall rejuvenate the almost collapsed banks and the financial
When you